So I've avoided the more popular creepypasta subgenres the best I can so far in this series. I haven't done a gaming pasta, I haven't done any lost episode creepypastas, and besides Burner, which was forced upon me by a bastard co-host, I haven't done any creepypasta original character origin stories yet. Another subgenre that I've avoided so far has been ritual creepypastas, but I haven't avoided them for the same reasons I've avoided the other subgenres I've mentioned. I've mostly haven't done any ritual pastas because I have little to no interest in these types of stories. I don't really know what it is, honestly, about them, but I can't find myself getting invested in them. I think it's a combination of many things, mainly their lack of plot lines for me to get invested in, and the fact the end result is almost never worth the risk in these types of stories. Like, genuinely, of the ones I've heard, the best ending scenario is either being turned into a demon or getting trapped in a mirror dimension. It's just like, why would anyone willingly do this? So yeah, I'm not particularly interested in reading these types of stories. Unfortunately for me though, commenter apostrophe music has suggested I do a ritual pasta, making me kinda obligated to look into one. And oh boy, did apostrophe bring me a real fucking stinker. Today's story is titled The Scorpion Ritual, and it's a real story that happened, I suppose. My last few episodes have been long as fuck, so let's just cut to the chase and jump right into this one. Oh, before I begin, this story was also reviewed by another YouTuber, Jenny Nicholson, in a video where she talks about a couple other notable ritual pastas. She's pretty funny, and you should go watch her video as well after this one. I'm going to try to avoid making the exact same jokes she did in her video. Keyword is try. With that out of the way, let's just jump right into this. So our story begins with a little introduction that explains that the Scorpion Ritual is a dark and possibly dangerous ritual that's said to bring back the dead in some cultures. Having read this story before, the words possibly dangerous are pretty fucking hilarious. After the introduction, there's a forethought, which explains that the ritual is possible, but there's a chance it will fail, which just seems like a catch in case some dumbass actually tries to do this ritual, and it doesn't work. Though given the details we're about to go over, I don't think anyone is actually going to try this, so you know. Forethought also mentions that scorpions might be difficult to obtain in some areas, which I find weirdly funny. Like, oh no, people in Yellowknife won't be able to do the scorpion ritual. Anyway, now we're on to the ingredients section. For this very simple ritual, you're going to need 1. A body, freshly dead with no preservatives. That shit gotta be raw, bruh. 2. A scorpion, large and in charge. 3. Some acid, but not the cool kind. Not that cool kind either. Some really watered down shit. 4. An alcoholic beverage, for when you actually have to read this story. 5. Very specifically, a gallon jug of flammable liquid. It specifies that the liquid shouldn't be explosive because there's a high chance of your death. 6. A primitive lighting method, not including matches, because fuck you. 7. 1 spear, because swords are for plebs, but you have to make it yourself and it can't be made of metal, meaning this ritual heavily favors woodworkers. 8. Tinder, so you can obtain some bitches. However, this is optional because the writer knows that it's impossible for some of you to get any. 9. You can bring a lantern or a torch, but it can't be electric because nothing can be easy for you. Now that you've obtained your very questionable assortment of items and you're ready to do some crimes against God and man, the author has a bit more information to dump on your immoral ass. Basically, you're not allowed within a 1-mile radius of anything electrical, or the ritual will be invalid and cancelled on Twitter. This includes cars, so have fun dragging your fresh corpse, live scorpion, and spear a mile into the middle of the Arizona desert. Frankly, besides the whole collecting and desecrating a corpse, this might be the biggest reason why this isn't worth it. Because this just sounds like a whole ass hassle, to be honest. Also, you're allowed to bring friends to watch you do the ritual, which leads to the very funny mental image of a guy holding a spear and a corpse with a scorpion on his shoulder, asking his mates to drive him into the middle of the forest. Just take a moment to let that scene play out in your mind. Yeah, it's pretty funny, isn't it? Now, at long last, we get to the actual instruction. I'll go through it like the ingredients section. Step 1. Collect a corpse. It has to be less than a week since it died, so consider getting one fresh. Also, it can't be too badly damaged. Only 1 missing limb is allowed. Step 2. Find somewhere to do the ritual. Remember, it can't be within 1 mile of technology, so I suggest going into the middle of the desert or downtown Reno. Step 3. Bring your supplies. Thought this would be a given, but apparently not. Honestly, the only reason I'm actually talking about this step is because it mentions putting your spear in a holster, which is just the funniest shit I've ever heard. Step 4 is optional, so moving on. Step 5. Position the body with its hands cupped over its chest. Then release your newly acquired scorpion friend into the cupped hands. Try not to die while doing this. Also, pour the alcohol into the cupped hands too, which is frankly just rude to your scorpion friend. Step 6. Stab the hand of the corpse with your spear. The author assumes the scorpion will also be in a stabby mood and will sting the hand with you. Step 7. Light a fire around yourself, your corpse, and your funky little scorpion friend. Be careful, because you might not know this, but fire is very hot, and you will suffocate if you're surrounded by it for too long. Step 8. As soon as the fire surrounds you like a boss battle in a Zelda game, pour your lame-ass acid into the cupped hands, killing your Scorp bro and counteracting the alcohol. Somehow. Step 9. Almost done. The pool of acid should turn black at this point. So now, you should take your handy-dandy spear and stab into the cupped hands. Stab multiple times, just to make sure. Step 10. The corpse will start to shake it up, and the fire around you will suddenly die out. Now the corpse is alive, and now it's time for you to get the fuck out of Dodge. So now that you've resurrected your corpse, you'll find that dead people don't like coming back from the dead. So it'll be a raging murder machine, and will immediately attack you. You can fight it, if you're a fucking retard, because it can only be killed by a direct stab to where you stabbed them before. So it's best to just run. But don't get it twisted. The radius mentioned before doesn't contain the corpse, so it'll just chase you forever. Corpses don't like light for some bullshit reason, so you might be able to get a good head start on it, but it will keep chasing you forever, and will get angrier and angrier the longer it's alive. So fighting it really isn't a good idea, unless you've studied the blade somehow. Also, if it kills you, you'll become a zombie. Also, if it injures your friends, they'll also become zombies. And the story wraps up by stating if you suddenly start fearing arachnids after the ritual, then you should KYS immediately. Which is hilarious, because the ritual itself is essentially promoting a very slow and very complicated way to brutally commit suicide. So yeah, this was the Scorpion ritual. My thoughts, well, unlike the other stories I've covered, I can't really talk about the plot or the characters, so I only have really one complaint about the story. That said, this problem completely destroys it, so let's just get right into it.
The obvious question is, why did we do this?
So why the fuck would anyone even consider doing this for like a second? Like genuinely asking, because from what I can see, the only possible outcome of actually doing this ritual is excruciating, brutal death. There's no promises of power, there's no possibility that the person you'll resurrect will be perfectly normal, or that they'll be your zombie slave or something. Nope, it just immediately tries to murder you. Like, what's even the point? You might as well just down that jug of gasoline right then and there, or holster your spear through your neck. It's the same outcome as actually performing the ritual, but it cuts out all this middleman bullshit like dragging a corpse into the middle of the forest or buying a scorpion. Like I said at the beginning, other ritual bosses have a similar problem where the risk heavily outweighs the reward. Like summoning a hunted teddy bear to try to stab you so you aren't bored at night is an idiotic reward. It's still a reward. There's no good way this could go. The options here are death or death. And even if the ritual doesn't work, you still have to steal and desecrate a corpse to even attempt it. So even if the ritual fails, you're probably still going to end up in prison. Like there's literally no incentive to even try this out. And even if someone did, the ritual itself involves so many steps and is so ridiculously out of the way that no one would even try it. That's the main goal of most ritual passes anyway, right? They'll be simplistic enough that the reader could, in theory, perform it, but won't because they're afraid of the possibility that it's real, and they'll have to face the risks for it, right? Well, here, there's both no reward to make it worth trying, and it's way too complicated and immoral for anyone to even attempt it. This might be the worst ritual pasta for this reason alone. It fails to do the bare minimum of what these types of stories set out to do. Spectacularly so. It's an utter failure. So let's just wrap this one up, shall we? This story is really, really bad. Honestly, it fails as a ritual pasta and as a piece of horror literature in general. It's not scary in the slightest. It's presented in a pretty bland and by-the-numbers way for this subgenre, and the concept is so ridiculously dangerous that even the numbnuts that listen to ritual pastas regularly realize that it's utter nonsense. I give it a 2 out of 10. I'm sure there are great ritual pastas out there, but if most of them are anything like this train wreck, I think I'll just stay in my lane from now on. This was an utter shit show. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Thanks again to Apostrophe Music for the suggestion. If any of you guys want to suggest a story, drop it in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe as well. Next episode is going to be a real fucking doozy, so keep your eye out for that one. I'll see you guys next time.